Hello and welcome to another virtual Coder Dojo session. My name is Rob O'Connor and I'm here today to talk to you about Scratch. We're going to do an introduction to Scratch, which is the programming environment that we use mostly at our Coder Dojo, and as far as I know it's pretty much the same all across the world. Scratch is a great free tool that you can use to get started with coding without getting bogged down in typing lots of text and getting worried about the syntax and brackets and curly brackets and semicolons and all that type of stuff. Scratch uses a block-based approach to coding. Now, if you've done an hour of code activity like the Minecraft one we did in an earlier video, the Scratch environment is going to feel very, very familiar to you. But what's great about Scratch is that you can do so much more with it than you can do in an hour of code exercise. So today's lesson is going to be quite simple. What we're going to do is we're going to visit the Scratch website. We're going to have a look around that. We're going to have a look at maybe one or two projects that are already up there so you can see the type of stuff that you can create with Scratch. We'll show you the online version of Scratch and what you can do with that, and then I'll show you how to install the offline version on a Windows PC or a Mac, and then what we'll do is we'll write a very, very quick Scratch program to ensure that everything is set up okay. So the first thing we'll do then is we'll have a look at the Scratch website. So if we go over to the computer here, and if I just open up a web browser, and yeah, I'll set that as my default browser. Yeah, okay. We'll start that again. So we'll go over and we'll have a look at the Scratch website. So if I come over here and I launch a web browser, and I'll just click out of that, and I'll just look for Scratch. So you can Google or just search for Scratch, if I spell it correctly, it might help. And that brings us up, scratch.mit.edu. Scratch is a tool that's developed by MIT, which is Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And it's the way an awful lot of introductory programming is taught now as well. So I'm logged in here, but if I just sign out for a moment, you can create a profile if you wish. You don't have to, but if you want to use the online version, it's probably a good idea that you do. Particularly if you want to remix or have a look at any code for projects that is already up there, it's a good idea to create a profile. It's free, it won't cost you anything. You just go in there, you create a username, password, etc., etc. It's all the usual type of stuff that somebody might do to create a profile. You can do that if you want, but as I said, you don't have to. I'm just going to log in here now for a moment. You don't have to. Okay, so I'm logged back in again now. And what we can do is, you see there's an awful lot of information here, so it can be a bit confusing if you're not sure of it. What we'll do is we'll go to the Explore tab. And what we see here in the Explore tab is we're going to see a lot of projects that have already been created and people have put up that you can try them out. And what's even better is that the code is included. So if you want to see how something is built, you can do that. And what's better, you can actually make a copy of somebody else's program and just start mucking about with theirs if you like. So I'm actually going to go into this one here. This one is really cool. It's by somebody called Atomic Magic Number, whom I don't know, but I think it's really cool. This is a kind of a mashup project between Super Mario Brothers and Minecraft, and it's all done in Scratch. Now this is just loading up here now. Okay, so Minecraft Mario has loaded, and if we press this green flag here, it should launch. And this will just take a message. Huge thanks. Just take a minute here. Episode 1 blah, 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 blah. Okay, just giving the instructions, use arrow keys, WASD, or touchscreen, spacebar, or action to mine or craft. As you can see, reusing a lot of the assets from Mario and Minecraft, same kind of fonts and things like that. So if we press play on this, and then like actually with this button here, I can make it bigger. So it makes a full screen, and I'm using the keys, and my Mario character's moving around. I'm chopping down that tree, making him jump and falling into the lava. I'm supposed to make a ladder, up the ladder. Oops. That's all lovely, an epic hero champ. Then I have another one over here, jumping in thing. Anyway, I'm not very good at this. Anyway, but the idea is this is something that was created with Scratch. And what's really interesting about this is if I go here, you see if this C inside, if I look at that, I can see all of the code from this. Just gonna stop that there now because I don't want to hear that anymore. This is all of the code. So again, if you can remember what you've seen in an hour of code activity, it's very similar. You've got these blocks and they all snap together. Look, this one is quite complex. We've got an awful lot of sprites, which are little characters that might be in the game. They all have programs associated with them or actions associated with them. So there's an awful lot of code in here. But at the same time, that's okay. We're not going to build anything like this. This is quite complicated. I'm only showing you this just so you can get a feel for what can be done in Scratch if somebody wants to have a go. So yes, I leave that. So I'll go back to the main Scratch website, and even then I can create a little activity. You can do everything on the website that you wish. So you don't have to download the offline version if you don't want to. But what I like about the offline version is that you don't have to be online. With the online version, you must be online at all times. Whereas at least with the offline version, you don't have to have your Wi-Fi on. Or if you want to use a standalone computer and maybe if you have got poor broadband, it's not somebody pulling on the broadband. Anyway, so what we have with Scratch is you have all of the the blocks that are available to you are over here. Over on the left hand side, and they're divided up by categories. So you've got some associated with motion, with the way things look, sound, events, and each of them are color coded as well, which is really handy, particularly if you're trying to follow any online tutorials, because you'll see purple ones and they're to do with things that are looks, or orange ones, they're to do with variables, and all that kind of stuff. So we have all of the blocks available to us, and you can scroll down here, and again we can drag out any of these, whatever we want. You've also got costumes, which is to do with your sprites, and you can change the way that they look, and you can also add in other costumes as well. There's buckets of them there, and we'll look at some of those later on. You've also got a sound editor here as well. So what we'll do is, this is Scratch the cat. He's kind of the default character that comes with every Scratch program. So what you want to do is go to our events, and when the green flag is clicked, that means I want to start my program. So I'm going to put in here, when the green flag is clicked, motion, I'm going to get Scratch to move, well, 10 steps won't be very much, so I'll get him to move 30 steps, okay? And this program is associated with this sprite. So if I press the green button now, we should see Scratch move over a little bit. Look, there he goes, he's moved. Press it again, he's moved again. Press it again, he's moved again. It's not a very exciting program, but it's only got one line of code, so there you go. But that's Scratch, yeah, really exciting, isn't it? But we can do an awful lot more with it. I'm joking. So that's the online version of Scratch. But now yes, I leave that. I don't need to save that program. Why don't we now look at the offline version of Scratch? So if you scroll to the bottom of the main Scratch page, you will see a button here for downloads, or you can go to scratch.mit.edu/download. And what this does is brings up a page where you can download all the offline versions. So it's available for Windows, Mac, also for Chrome OS if anyone has a Chromebook. There's also a version available for Android as well. This is a Windows machine here right now, so I can download it there. It's also available on the Microsoft Store. So if you have the App Store on a Windows machine, you can just get it directly from there. So we can do a direct download. That'll download in just a moment. I don't have great broadband, so it takes a few minutes. Okay, that's downloaded now, and it should be in my downloads. Yeah, so if I just click on that, move that out of the way. So this will be the installer for it. I'm going to install it for all users of the computer. Yes, I do really mean to do this. Okay, so that's installed there now, and it's created a desktop icon for me, but I can also find it in the programs bar. So if I go down here, it should be under S for Scratch Desktop. So if I click on that, and it's loading up here now. No, I'm okay, thank you. And what you'll see is that it looks exactly the same as the online version. The online version and the offline version are very, very similar. The only difference is with the offline version, it's a bit easier to save your work locally, and also you don't need to have an active internet connection at all times in order for it to work. So as you see, there's my Scratch the Cat, there's all my blocks, this is my workspace area, and it's all pretty cool. Let's do the same thing over in Mac, just in case anyone has a Mac, and we can see how that works over there. Okay, so here I am in Safari on a Mac, and I've gone to scratch.mit.edu/download, and I could do a direct download of it, or it's also available on the App Store as well. This will be very similar in the Microsoft Store. You're just running the Microsoft one as opposed to the Apple one, and you can just search for it. Scratch Desktop. I already have it installed, so it's saying open, but you can just install it directly there if you want. And with Mac, it will, if you download it, which I have already done, you get the DMG file, a disk image file for Mac. You open that up, and then it'll bring up a little window, and you would just drag that over to there, and that's it. It's installed. It's very, very simple, not a huge amount to it. And in the Mac Scratch, if I just launch it, here we are. Again, there what we see is it looks exactly the same as the Windows version, and it looks exactly the same as the online version. And this is also true of the tablet versions, the Android version and the Chrome OS version as well. And you can use the online version with something like an iPad if you wish as well, and that's pretty cool. So it doesn't really matter what device you're using, you're going to get the same experience. The only difference with the offline versions is you don't have to be online at all points. Okay, so let's go back to, this is my Windows version of Scratch, assuming we have everything set up. Okay, if you need to pause the video and go and do that, that's absolutely fine. What we're going to do is write a very, very small, simple program with Scratch, just to show you roughly how it works. Okay, so we have Scratch the Cat there. I'm just going to get rid of him, okay? And you see down here, these are all my sprites. These are all these are going to be all the characters or the actors that are going to be in my program. So I'm going to get rid of him. So now I have a blank screen. I've got nothing there at all. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to add a new sprite. So if you go down here to this, okay, you got a couple of options here, but I'm just going to pick the first one. Choose a sprite. Okay, and I've got a whole load of these here, buckets of them. Okay, so I think I might pick the bear. Okay, I'll pick the bear. Okay, look, there's a bear. Now he's quite big in my space, so I'm going to make him a little bit smaller. So if you see here, we've got a size property. I'm going to make him about 50% size, so about half the size that he already is. So boom, now he's much smaller. Okay, and what I'm going to do as well, I don't like this white background. It's really boring. So I'm going to change the background. Now we had the sprites over here. If I go over here, I have choose a backdrop, and there's a whole load of these built into Scratch. So again, I'm going to choose one of the ones that's already there. And yeah, this looks nice. Kind of a nice blue sky. Looks like there's a forest or something like that. Okay, great. Now I'm going to move my bear down so it looks like he's there. And I'm going to make my bear walk from the left hand side of the screen to the right hand side of the screen. Okay, it's really simple. So what I need to do is I need him to move 10 steps, and if I press the green arrow, oh, nothing happens. Nothing happens because I didn't put an event in there, which was when the green arrow is clicked. Okay, so I need to go and collect that from the events one, which are the yellow ones. Now, 10 steps is not very much in Scratch. So if I click this, you're going to see the bear barely move. Look, barely moved. Barely moved. Okay, so that's not very exciting. Okay, if I made that 100 steps, that might be a bit more dramatic. Let's have a look and see what happens now. Boom. So he's gone a good bit of the way across the screen. So if you look, he's gone about a third of the way over the screen. So it's probably about 300 in total from start to finish. A little bit more actually for a Scratch window. If I put him back there. So let's just see what happened if I made it 300. What would happen then? And if I press my green arrow, he should go across. Boom. Yeah, so he goes from one side of the screen to the other. So that's pretty cool. I like that. And if I want to see it a bit bigger, if I want to see my program running in a bigger window, I can use this icon here for full screen. Look, and he goes much bigger. And if I press my green arrow, he jumps over there, which is very exciting. I wonder, can I make this program a little bit nicer? So what I could do is I could maybe get the bear to change costumes. Now, what's quite cool about the bear is this bear actually has a number of different versions of it. So you see this, we've got bear walk A, bear walk B, bear walk C. If we click on them, you'll see, if you look, it's the bear. It's like an animated version of the bear. Look. So at the moment, he just jumps from one to the start to finish, and it looks like he just got there. So maybe we can write a better version of it, where he's kind of animated, going from start to finish. Okay, so I'm going to make a better version of the bear. So we want him to move about 300 steps. So what I'm going to do is create a loop. Now, if I bring in a repeat block, so you might remember, you might have seen a repeat block from the our code activity. So if I was to make a repeat block that moved 10 steps 30 times, 10 by 30 is 300. So he will still move to 300 steps, but he's going to do it in blocks of 10. If I was to run this program now, I should get the exact same thing as I got before. The bear should just go over to the other side. Look at him. There he goes. He moved it slightly, little bit slower, but he still went there. Now, I mentioned that there's lots of different costumes. So this bear sprite, there's lots of different versions of that. And as we cycle through it, it looks like he's walking. So what I want to do is I want to change costume. I want to move on to the next version of the bear. And if I go into looks, which is the purple one, I can say next costume. If I drag that under there, under the move. So next costume is just going to move on to the next costume. So if I started the first one, it'll move on to that one, then it'll move on to that one, then it'll move on to that one, and so on and so on. So it'll move 10 steps, change costume, then it'll move another 10 steps, change costume, blah, 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 30 times. So if I click on this now, I should see the bear moving across the screen, and it should look like he's walking. So let's try that out. Look at him. Quite fast for a bear though, isn't he? Let's look at that again. Stop the program. And I'll drag him back to the start. Let's just watch that again. Boom. He's a very fast bear. So let's try and slow him down a little bit. So I'm just going to move him back. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to introduce a very slight pause, which is a wait. Where is my wait gone? Where is it gone? Thought it was in control. Wait, oh, here we are. It is in control. It's the first one. So I'm going to bring in a wait. And that is basically saying, I want you to do this and then stop. So if I say wait 1 second, that's going to be quite a lot actually, because he's going to move, he's going to wait a second, then he move again. Watch what happens, look. He's the slowest bear in existence. Bears are slow, but they're not that slow. So I said 1 second. I'm actually going to make it 0.2 seconds. So the bear is going to wait 200 milliseconds, or 0.2, 1/5 of a second, in between walking increments. Now let's see what happens here now with this one. I have a feeling this one is going to look pretty good. So we have our bear. Boom! Look at that. A bear walking across the screen. And we're going to do one last thing with this program. I'm putting it back to the start. I'm going to get the bear to say hello at the end. Actually, I'll get him to say, bears don't say hello, bears say rawr. Okay, for 2 seconds. So what's going to happen is he's going to walk across, then the bear is going to say, a little speech bubble is going to come up and it's going to say rawr for 2 seconds, and then it's going to stop. So let's try that. Easy as. So why don't you try out that program there? So what I'll do is, if you see that program, when the green flag is clicked, put a repeat block with 30, move 10 steps, change costume, wait 0.2 seconds, and then outside the repeat block, say rawr for 2 seconds. Why don't you have a go at that and try and build a bear that walks across the screen? You can change the background here, so if you want to change the backdrop altogether to something, you know, a bear walking across space, why not? Okay, look. And there he goes, a bear in space, Ursa Major, why not? Whatever it is that you want to do, you can muck about with it in Scratch, and we're going to do some more Scratch exercises in this video series. But for now, hopefully you've got started with Scratch. You can see how you can work with the online version, how to install it on your own laptop or your own machine at home, and then you can do a very, very basic program with it. So look, there's only a couple of lines of code there to get a bare animated walking from one side of the screen to another, which is pretty cool. In the olden days of programming, that would have taken quite a lot to do, whereas now with Scratch we can get something like that done pretty quickly. So I hope you've done that. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you learned something, and hopefully you found it a bit fun and a bit exciting. And we're going to do some more stuff with Scratch over the coming days as well. Okay, so thanks very much. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your attention, and we'll talk to you soon.